For most of human history, we have believed something very simple about ourselves. We assumed that evolution had already finished its work, that the human being standing today, with a sophisticated brain, language, and technology, is the final result of millions of years of biological development. A completed design. But what if that belief is only partially true? What if the human being is not the final chapter of evolution, but the beginning of a new one? A quieter, more mysterious form of evolution. Not of the body, but of consciousness itself. Throughout modern science, evolution is usually studied through physical changes: bones that became stronger, hands that became more precise, brains that expanded in size and complexity. And these discoveries are extraordinary. They tell us how life climbed from oceans to land to intelligence. But ancient Indian traditions offered another perspective thousands of years ago. They suggested that the greatest evolutionary leap of the human being may not be visible in the skeleton or muscles at all. Instead, they believed the next stage of evolution lies hidden within the nervous system, deep inside the architecture of the human spine. Ancient yogic texts speak about a dormant force residing there, a powerful internal energy known as Kundalini. In traditional descriptions, this energy is symbolized as a serpent, coiled 3.5 times at the base of the spine. To a modern mind, this may sound like mythology, a poetic image from a spiritual tradition. But symbolism has always been the language of ancient knowledge. And when we look closely, the metaphor begins to reveal something surprisingly sophisticated, because the serpent has always represented transformation. Across the natural world, the snake sheds its skin. It leaves behind an older version of itself and emerges renewed. In many cultures, this process became a symbol for rebirth, regeneration, and evolution. In ancient Egypt, the serpent appeared on the crown of the pharaoh as the uraeus, symbolizing awakened awareness. In Greek tradition, serpents wrapped around the staff of Asclepius, the ancient symbol of healing that medicine still uses today. In Mesoamerican civilization, the deity Quetzalcoatl appeared as the feathered serpent, representing divine intelligence. And in the yogic traditions of India, the serpent became a metaphor for the hidden evolutionary power within the human body, a coiled force resting silently at the foundation of the spine. But what exactly were the ancient yogis describing? Was this purely mystical imagery? Or were they pointing towards something real inside human biology? To understand this, we must look at a simple principle known to every physicist: potential energy. Imagine a tightly compressed spring. While it is coiled, the energy inside it is invisible, silent. But the moment it is released, that stored power becomes movement. The ancient yogis viewed the human body in a remarkably similar way. At the base of the spine lies what they called the Muladhara, or the root center. This region governs our most fundamental instincts: survival, reproduction, the basic biological drives shared by all living creatures. But yogic philosophy proposed something fascinating. This raw biological energy was never meant to remain confined to survival alone. It was meant to rise, to move upward through the central channel of the spine, gradually transforming as it ascends. Each stage of this upward journey corresponds to a shift in human awareness, from survival to emotion, from emotion to communication, from communication to insight, and finally, to pure awareness. This upward movement of life energy became known as the awakening of Kundalini. For centuries, this idea remained within the domain of spirituality. But something interesting has happened in recent decades. Modern science has begun exploring aspects of human physiology that echo parts of this ancient description. Inside the spinal cord and brain flows a remarkable substance called cerebrospinal fluid, a clear protective liquid that surrounds the nervous system. This fluid cushions the brain, nourishes delicate tissues, and helps regulate pressure within the skull. For a long time, scientists believed this fluid moved passively through the nervous system, almost like water sitting quietly in a container. But modern research has revealed something far more dynamic. Cerebrospinal fluid moves rhythmically. It responds to breathing. With every deep inhalation, the diaphragm shifts downward, subtly altering pressure inside the thoracic cavity. This pressure change gently pushes cerebrospinal fluid upward along the spinal canal. With every exhalation, the pressure shifts again. In other words, the simple act of breathing creates a natural pumping system inside the spine. A biological pump. Now consider something remarkable. Ancient yogic practices placed enormous emphasis on breath control, a system known as pranayama. Practitioners would spend years mastering slow inhalations, extended exhalations, and deliberate breath retention. From a modern physiological perspective, these techniques dramatically influence pressure changes within the body, which means they directly influence the movement of cerebrospinal fluid. The ancient yogis may not have used modern anatomical language, but their practices suggest a deep experiential understanding of how breath affects the nervous system. And when cerebrospinal fluid circulation increases toward the brain, something fascinating happens. Neural activity can change. Electrical signaling patterns shift. The brain enters different states of consciousness. This leads us to one of the most mysterious structures in the human brain, a tiny organ located near its center, the pineal gland. For centuries, philosophers and mystics have been fascinated by this small structure. The French philosopher René Descartes famously called it the seat of the soul. Today, science understands that the pineal gland regulates circadian rhythms by producing melatonin. It helps the body distinguish day from night. But research into meditation and altered states of consciousness suggests that deeper processes may also occur within the brain during profound states of awareness. Studies on advanced meditators show unusual patterns of brain activity. Electroencephalogram recordings often reveal powerful gamma brain waves. These waves are associated with heightened perception, emotional integration, and deep states of awareness. People who enter such states frequently describe something remarkable: a dissolving of the boundary between self and environment, a sense of timelessness, a feeling of profound unity with existence itself. In the language of neuroscience, this represents a reorganization of brain activity. In the language of ancient yoga, it is described as the awakening of higher consciousness. Two different frameworks, perhaps describing the same human experience. The yogic system also speaks of 7 chakras, energy centers aligned along the spine. At first glance, these may appear purely symbolic, but if we overlay the chakra system onto modern anatomy, something intriguing emerges. Each chakra aligns closely with major nerve plexuses, clusters where thousands of nerves intersect. The solar plexus influences digestion and metabolic energy. The cardiac plexus regulates heart rhythm and breathing. The cervical plexus connects to the throat and vocal communication. These plexuses are communication hubs within the nervous system. When activity within them changes, our physiology and emotional states change as well. Seen through this lens, the rise of Kundalini can be understood as the progressive activation of the nervous system, energy moving from primitive survival circuits toward higher cognitive and emotional networks. From instinct to compassion, from reaction to awareness. In a way, it mirrors the evolutionary journey of humanity itself. Yet ancient traditions were also careful to warn about something important. Awakening powerful internal energies too quickly can overwhelm the nervous system. Modern psychology even recognizes a phenomenon sometimes called Kundalini syndrome. Individuals undergoing intense spiritual experiences may report emotional instability, sensory sensitivity, or anxiety. But this idea is not unfamiliar to modern science. In engineering, electrical systems must be prepared before higher voltages are introduced. If the wiring is fragile, too much current can cause damage. Ancient yogic traditions understood this intuitively, which is why Kundalini practices were traditionally approached slowly. Through years of meditation, breathing techniques, ethical discipline, physical postures designed to stabilize the body. These were not simply religious rituals. They were methods of preparing the nervous system, strengthening the biological wiring before increasing the current. Interestingly, modern wellness culture has begun rediscovering similar ideas. Practices such as breathwork, meditation, cold exposure, and focused attention are now being studied for their effects on the nervous system. Researchers and biohackers are exploring how these techniques influence stress responses, immune function, and brain activity. The language has changed, but the core insight remains strikingly familiar. The human body is not merely a mechanical structure. It is a living electrical network, a dynamic system of chemical signals, neural circuits, and fluid movement. And within this system lies a profound possibility. Kundalini, in this sense, may represent the evolutionary potential hidden within our own biology, a reminder that consciousness itself may still be unfolding. The serpent at the base of the spine is not a literal creature. It is a metaphor, a symbol for the quiet electricity of life, a dormant spark resting inside the architecture of the nervous system, waiting for balance, waiting for stillness, waiting for awareness. And when the right conditions arise, when the body becomes steady, when the breath becomes calm, when the mind becomes silent, something remarkable can happen. Perception begins to change. Awareness expands. The boundary between the observer and the universe begins to soften. In that moment, the human being may glimpse something extraordinary. That evolution did not end with the brain. It may only be beginning with consciousness. And the key to that transformation may have been quietly resting within the human spine all along. The ancient yogis called it Kundalini. Science may one day describe it in different terms, but the mystery remains the same. Hidden within the human body is a force of evolution, still waiting to awaken. And perhaps the most fascinating realization is this: the greatest frontier of human discovery may not lie in distant galaxies or in the depths of the ocean. It may lie within us, inside the silent architecture of the human body, within the delicate networks of the nervous system, and within the mysterious nature of consciousness itself. Ancient civilizations tried to understand this mystery through symbols and meditation. Modern science is beginning to explore it through neuroscience and physiology. Two different paths, slowly approaching the same question: what is the true potential of the human mind? And could the next step of evolution be something far more profound than physical change? Perhaps a transformation of awareness itself. The serpent in the spine may simply be a poetic way of reminding us that the human story is not finished yet, that within each of us there may still be untapped dimensions of perception, intelligence, and consciousness waiting to emerge. And if that is true, then the future of evolution may not be something that happens to humanity. It may be something that awakens within humanity. Thank you for joining this exploration of ancient wisdom and modern science. If you found this idea fascinating, consider subscribing for more journeys into the hidden connections between consciousness, science, and the mysteries of the universe.